Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me today. Today's card, it's a very simple one. There's no stamping on it. It is all about the background technique and about the bling on the front. And if you stay with me, I will show you how it all went together. So for this technique, I have a little piece of glossy card. Now this is been cut down to a quarter of A4, so just cut the A4 in half that way and then again that way to give me a piece of this size, which is actually called A6, I think. I'm using glossy card because the glossy surface will allow the ink to move across it smoothly. You can do it with pretty much any kind of card. I wouldn't recommend watercolor card because the water will just soak into it, and you want the inks to be able to move. All right, so I have that. I have my chosen colors of re-inkers, which are Tempting Turquoise, Pool Party, and Soft Sky. For this one, I want quite a light, soft finished piece. But you can have whatever colours you like. This is just a bottle of water with a spray attachment. This is just ordinary plain water out of the tap. And this, I think, was probably on a bottle of cleaning product at one time. I have cleaned it out properly. Alright, so I'm just going to begin by just lightly spraying across the surface of my card. Perhaps I'll just smooth that out a little bit to make a kind of a smoothish surface. And now I'm just going to drop my coloured inks into the water, and as you can see they're moving around. Okay, so that was Soft Sky, and now I'm going to go in with the Pool Party, which is a more of a greeny tone, and last of all the Tempting Turquoise. So I'm not going to put quite so much of this because this is going to be the strongest colour. Okay. Okay, so the last thing that I need is a piece of cling film. The stuff you put on the top of your bowls to keep them in the fridge. And I'm just popping that on top, and I'm just kind of moving the ink around with my fingers. Now, if you're the kind of person who absolutely loves total control and you want to know what you're doing and you want to know how it's going to come out, this technique is probably not for you, right? Because it is a bit random. The only control that you really have is the inks and where you drop them. What happens afterwards is in the lap of the gods, which is why we like it. Okay, so swoosh that around a bit and, you know, just play with it. You can try and have some kind of influence over where your pattern is going to be, right? So once you're happy with that, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn this over and I'm just going to cover up the back a bit, right? I'm not going to cover it entirely because I want my cards to be able to dry. And what I am going to do is, after it's been drying for about, I don't know, a few hours, I will come back and I will open the back up, but I'm going to leave that bit on. So I'm going to give this a good long time to dry, probably about 24 hours, and then we'll come back and I will take off the cling film and we will have the big reveal. I filmed that yesterday, so this has had all night to dry, and as I said I was going to, after a couple of hours I just pulled these edges of cling film away from the back. So now it's time for the big reveal. Now we can peel away the film and see what we are left with. And it's always quite exciting because you never really know what you're going to get until you actually pull the film away, and that is really quite interesting and quite beautiful, or at least I think so anyway. So I'm going to use that as a background in a project. Now while the ink was wet, I could have added stuff into it. For example, this one I don't know whether you can see, just about there, but I added some flakes of Dazzling Diamonds glitter. Just kind of sprinkled them in while the ink was wet. If I'd had something like a smooch spray or mica powder, I could have added that in while it was all wet, and that would have given me a different effect. But this one, by the way, is I used Tempting Turquoise, Bermuda Bay, and Night of Navy, and I think that looks very much like an undersea scene. Right, so those are now ready for me to use in projects. So let's see what I do with them. I'm going to use this on the front of a card, so I've trimmed it down to a 5. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. I'm going to use this on the front of a card now, so I've trimmed it down to a 5.5 by 3 3/4. And I'm also going to be using some of this. This is new in the Autumn Winter catalogue, and it's a champagne foil, and it is absolutely glorious. It's not as bright as a gold, but it's a little bit warmer than a silver. It's somewhere in between the two. It's really, really pretty. So I'm going to be using some of that. I'm going to be using some of the double-sided adhesive sheet and the Swirly Scribbles die. And the thing I forgot to include when I was giving you the list of supplies is the card base. It's Whisper White, and I've cut it to a 5 3/4 inch by 8 inches, and I've scored and folded it on the 4-inch mark to make a landscape tent fold card. Now this is my piece of champagne foil, and I've cut it to the same size as my card base. So it is, I have to think again, 5 3/4 by 4, and I've gutted out the middle of it because I'm going to be covering that with the blue card, and most of it's not going to be seen, and this card is way too precious to waste. So what I've done is I've taken my trimmer and I've just cut a rectangle out of the middle of it. It doesn't have to be a rectangle, doesn't have to be neat and tidy. You can just get in there with your scissors and chop a bit out. You just need to make sure that you need enough around the edge so that it won't show when you come to put everything together. Alright. So I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm just going to pop that onto the front of it. Make sure it's straight. Oops, I'm trying not to put mucky fingers on it. It's my cloth. Rub that off before it dries. But again, it will be covered up. And just to prove the point, let me bring in my cling filmed card. And let's put that on there as well. And as you can see, it covers up, you know, the little nicks and spots where I wasn't quite accurate with my cutting. Nobody will ever know that there isn't a full sheet of foil card underneath there. I'm going to be die cutting shapes out of this piece, and because they are quite intricate and delicate, I'm going to make my life easy, and I'm going to back this piece with the permanent adhesive, self-adhesive sheet. So it says peel here, very handily, so that's what I'm going to do. And peel back the side with the writing on. So you take the bit with the writing away from the backing to begin with. And I'm just going to press this down. onto the sheet. And now I'm going to cut that away. Okay, and I'll keep this bit to use as a sort of presser cloth. I'm going to go over to the Big Shot, and I'm going to die cut out one of these and one of these, and I'm going to ride through the Big Shot in this orientation, right, because that way it puts less stress on my die, and I'm very well aware that this is flaring all over the place, so I'm going to go and do that without further ado. And I am back with my pieces die cut, and all I need to do now is to decide where I'm going to put them onto my card. So now I thought about trimming this one down, but actually it doesn't need much trimming. It can go right the way across the front. I'm just making sure I've got the card the right way up, and I'm just going to get the backing paper to start here. There we are. Needed a little bit of persuasion, but it soon got going. And I'm going to bring my tweezers in here just to make my life a little bit easier, because I don't want to be sticking my my mucky paws all over my adhesive. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to decide where I want it, and around about there. Looks good to me. And just press it down, and that is just so much easier than bothering with the bits of adhesive. It's sticky. It is just so much easier. And I've got a little bit of an overhang here, so I'm just going to trim those pieces away with my snips. And there we go. I'm liking that so far. And now I'm going to put this piece on. Now I saved the centre. I don't know whether I'm going to use that or not. I think I might. We shall see. Okay. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. That one did get a little bit mangled trying to get it out of the die. I won't lie to you. You will take more care than I do, I am sure. I did use my my detail plate. I can't remember what it's called for the moment. But I don't know whether I actually needed to, because with this stuff on the background, maybe it was just a little bit too thick for it, so it did struggle with it a little bit. It cut it, but you might be better off using just your ordinary cutting plate on a scrap and see how that works for you. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to call that done. There is my finished card, which I'm very pleased with actually. It's a nice simple card, and you could give it for any occasion, and it's very gender neutral. You could give it to a gentleman or to a lady. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and if so, then don't forget to hit that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, all of those things. I would love to have you do. But for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.